Okay, great. So we're recording now. And like we said before, we'll plan to make this public. And then if anything is said that you think maybe needs to be kept private, just let me know. We'll stop the recording and start again. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay,
Just,
perfect.
I'm very open and public, I would say. So
I totally get that and appreciate that. And that's the thing. And it's so great. And I just want to start by acknowledging you and thanking you, Paloma, picking up from our, conversation where we were messaging each other this morning. Yeah, it's magical when we feel that magical energy flowing, right? And you, I know, are somebody that can feel that well, given what you do, and, it's even just in connecting with you, it's making me realize how much the areas of what you focus on, your environment and all of that affects you so much. And, we'll, in some future conversation, we'll get into, how that relates in my world, because you're already impacting me just in my consciousness around that. And, as I've been processing everything that, we shared last time and that, is here, there's just so much, like we said, so much energy and so much potential energy for you to hold for the world. So my, vision, as I've shared with you, is to empower you, and others. And the reason that you and I are connecting, like we've talked about, is because there's an energetic resonance, for what, this is right now, for what, we're creating within you, that you are the one of everybody that is showing up in this moment, right? That you are the one that the universe is deeming is, ready and worthy of holding the energy. Right. So it's the opportunity. Yeah, absolutely. It's the opportunity that everyone has in the world all the time. And that's what we're teaching people. Right. And that's the thing, is that we all get to embrace our greatness at whatever level we're ready and prepared to embrace it. And you're being a wonderful model, to people of that you're here, you're embracing it. You can do it too, like you've shared your story. So, it's really awesome. And I really, honor and appreciate you. And this moment, the perfection of this moment and the perfection of what we're getting to share, with the world and all of this.
yeah, it's amazing how, the synchronicities start happening, and what happened with us this morning, which was kind of very funny. And I'm going to say it so everyone knows.
Sure.
So I wake up this morning, and I usually wake up very early because it's my quiet time. That's when I do my meditation, and that's when I'm a little bit alone before my whole household and children wakes up and we have to rush. And I usually don't really grab my phone. Right, because I'm focused on what I do, and then but that today I just grabbed my phone, and for some reason I was able to, I don't know, like communicate with you. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, because you responded so early. It was probably not even 6 a.m. or maybe 6 a.m. And I'm like, I apologize if I wake you up. I usually turn off my phone, but not everyone does. And you're like, no, I've been up early actually thinking of your project. And I'm like, oh, like I'm so grateful for that, for all of the energy and the thoughts that you are producing and giving and, sharing. And I'm like, what a beautiful, coincidence and surprise, and I am very grateful for that, for sure. And I do believe that that's exactly how the universe speaks to all of us, through synchronicities. Once we start giving the power of the thought, then something is going to manifest, right? The person, the thought, an idea, etc. And that's kind of how we start connecting and following the breadcrumbs, I would say. So that's when, like, the universe starts to certify, okay, keep on going on that path, because there's something good that can come out of that, depending of how much energy, how much work you actually put into it. And that's something that I have had to learn myself. So now I'm like, within my ridiculously busy time, right? I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna make a space, and I'm gonna make something happen and something work for me today. Even if it's like, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever time you have left, because a lot of us, it's not our first and only job that we're trying to make happen. So, I've noticed that we can find 1,000 excuses all the time, just to avoid doing what we were supposed to be taking action on. So I'm glad I'm here. I showered, put myself together. I'm going to give it all the time that I have right now, to make something happen. So.
Perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect. I appreciate the energy that you're bringing, the enthusiasm, the willingness to channel the opportunity. Like you said, yes, we can have all the different reasons why not to, and it really takes something to get past all of that to really create at the level, right, that we're talking about. And so, that's where I want to go back to our last conversation in terms of the vision. I'm even going to share some of the video that we made last time, just to focus on, remind you what you said and what I said and where we're at with everything, because, we're going to start with that bigger vision, like we talked about, you in the helicopter and the landform, feng shui, right, where you're actually like talking and doing like the television program and that sort of thing. If that's a vision of yours, this is where we get to decide, again, is it going to be like world leaders that you're helping to, work with? Like when they do a G8 conference, are you going to be the one that's setting up all the feng shui so all the world leaders can have the optimum, experience and connecting together, right? Like where does your vision go in terms of the top levels of what you do with what you do, right?
Okay.
And so that's, where we work our way back from, and we come back, to, okay, now that we go from there to like house tours, for example, right? So you're doing, and like with influential people, this is something we're going to talk a lot about today, for you to pick like the most influential person, that you could imagine that you would want to do this for. And then, just like MTV Cribs, I don't know if you ever saw MTV Cribs or a program like that, but, where they give the house tour and they talk about it and that sort of thing. And so like, again, that's a program, that I see in my mind that kind of serves a lot of the purposes of creating the awareness, creating your brand, building. You talked about conferences, and one of the things that we're going to talk about today is the new modern way of conferencing without conferences. So the conference, if you think about it, like you've said, is the opportunity to bring a lot of people together all in one place at one time, right? And then you get to have like maximum influence and that sort of thing over a lot of people, and they potentially become the flow for your sales funnel to become, clients and buy your products and all that sort of thing, right? And so again, in the past, conferences was a great model for that. These days, influencers are a much bigger opportunity because you can present to 1,000 or 2,000 people at a conference, but when you're working with an influencer to create a video that they post in their social media, now you're impacting 1 million people or 10 million people at a time, So in terms of scale and in terms of who you can reach and the impact you can have and the way that you can convert that all into business, it's a whole different world when you layer this whole, virtual world that we're living in now, right? So not to say that you won't do the conferences, but the one thing to think about, and this is where, I was going through and we'll go through it, but like, okay, so what does it take to do a conference? So what are your prospect conferences? And then what's your sales process to reach out to prospect conferences and sell yourself into the conferences? And, it's like a whole kind of business wrapped up in soliciting conferences or something like that. You get what I'm saying? And so again, is that the way that Paloma wants to be spending her business energy and doing that kind of dynamic? Or, alternatively, having relationships with people and creating, these relationships with influencers where you're just getting more and more out in the world through all of these fingers of influence. And that's where, again, you'll start to become the very prominent public person as you kind of step up your ladder of influencer. Who you're seen with is who you are in the world, essentially, right? And that's the way that you basically become who you want to be, is just you go from one person to the next, to the next, to the next, till you're where you want to be.
I like that idea a lot. I had never thought of it. And one of the things that I've been giving it a thought about is how So I have, I have accumulated all this knowledge, I have all these ideas, and I want to put it out there, the whole thing. But then it's like, oh, the time is a limitation. So I have come to realize that, only, let's say, the wealthy clients can afford bring me to their home. And then I have to make a space in my day. And that day I don't get to do many other, because I have many other occupations and businesses, sort of thing. So I'm like, oh, if I make videos, right? And then I can spread that. That would be, the right way to do it. And this idea about the conference, my idea was to go, let's say, to a place and then, help a group of people on. Maybe they're not wealthy, but they want to prosper that year. They want to make their finances better, their relationships better, etc. So, okay, what can you do? Like, for this year to give you a push. So you practice, with your astrology, how are you going to be feeling, what action to take, etc. Then within your home, within your environment, with your feng shui, what are you going to do at home? How are you going to clean? How are you going to move your furniture? How are you going to make your activations? How are you going to spend your time? And then your thoughts, your thoughts are as powerful. So you can do this and this and this. So they get out of there and they have something to follow. They have a little map to follow. So I'm like, and then if you do it in different, like countries, people, when they're together, they motivate each other, because now it's like, okay, I'm trying it. Are you trying it? I'm trying it. So everyone kind of joins together, created this consciousness. But you're super right, actually, because if we do it through whoever already is established, right? Most of these people, they're just influencers because, they just they figured out how to make people follow them, but they don't have a lot of content most of the time. So that's what they want to do, these kind of mini joint ventures with people that can, like teach something to others. So I think that could be a great idea, to begin with, and start doing it more like, from home, the personal conference, and they come with time when people invite you or someone wants to organize the big event, right?
Yeah, exactly. The actually, and as I'm thinking about it, can you turn your camera sideways so we get the wide view? I just realized.
I didn't know. I thought, turn it sideways. I tried it, and wait, I'm so sorry. Like this?
Okay, yeah.
Well, and another thing that you're gonna laugh about me, but the other day when we were on the conference with everyone else, I couldn't see anyone, and I couldn't figure it out how to see everyone's faces. So I will only see my face.
Okay. Yeah, it's in the upper right. When you hover over, it says view, and you change it from speaker view to gallery view.
Upper right? Like there's where it says more. Let's try.
Let me pause. Yeah. So again, I'm sorry. Where do we leave off?
So we were talking about like the conferences, that it would be great right now to start doing through influencers, because the influencers actually, that's what they like, and that's funny, but that's how Astro Paloma was created.
Right. That's what you said. Exactly. And that's the thing, is that the conferences, the way that I see it, will come in the future when you're established and people want you to show up and they're asking, for you to come somewhere. But in terms of a way to reach people right now, you can do more to reach more people with the influencers. And this is where, you can heavily incentivize it. The biggest incentive would be, we're going to do it for free for you or whatever. But there's some, we'll see if there's some way that you can still work out the finances where you're getting paid, but there's somehow being some exchange, maybe like you're doing a revenue share with them when people buy your stuff from that, broadcast or something like that. We'll have to figure out what the finances are going to be, but the bottom line is that you're going to incentivize it enough for the biggest influencers that you're going to do this with them. And that's how you're going to start to get your reputation, because people are going to tune in to want to see you do Sylvester Stallone's house, or somebody, that that people recognize and would be interested to see what does their house look like? What does the feng shui, advice in their home, look like? And, and the other things that you do, you'd also potentially do like a astrological reading, you know, with, again, influencers and that sort of thing. And again, all of this is interesting content, like you're saying, right? And interesting for their audience too. And that's why, you know, again, you can, it'll be like we've talked about, and this is why I've said, I see that you have all the intrinsic tools you need to be successful with all that I'm sharing. So it's just a matter of connecting all the dots to making it happen, right?
I'm with you. I'm totally with you. And yeah, I feel like I actually feel amazed, like lately, how many people wants to kind of like jump on board, you know, and help and see and da da da. And the best part of it all, Jared, is that I finally feel that I'm ready. Right. And I am making no excuses. My little one is 5 years old. Next year, he'll be going to kindergarten. You know, he can stay in school for a longer time. I will have much more free time, no excuses, this and that. So my older one going to high school. So, you know, I'm coming out of the real excuses, which is, you know, like I was like a single mom, very responsible for too many. So I am ready and I'm ready to take off. Right. And so another thing that we were mentioning is like the TV show. That's very funny because I don't think we have talked about a TV show, but I have always think about that. Probably people would love seeing that, and then would love getting into people's houses because, you know, we have to film something that I get into a house, and feng shui starts from the outside. Mm-hmm. Right. So it's like, what can you do from the beginning on the outside? Yeah. And how can you start changing your house? And as people change their house, new people get ideas and they start changing their own homes. So lots of talk about energy. So people start understanding and living into the quantum physics moment, right? Which is about like where we're transitioning from. Like, I mean, we're still stuck in the old beliefs. And I think as quantum physics has taken over, you know, like, I mean, science in our world, everything will change. And, you know, people need to start understanding energy flow and how can they benefit from that free flow around us. So it will be super fun, like to start doing that, you know, like you have to remove these bushes and then add bushes over here, add a tree, add a pond, clean this up, et cetera, et cetera. And also, I think we start doing it later at a bigger level. We're talking about landform feng shui. Right. It's I have kind of seen countries where they have very, very prosperous chi, but their people are very, very not prosperous. And I analyze, because, you know, I see everything with different eyes, and I look and I'm like, only if they will move their house a little bit up here, if they will leave some space in here, if they will get to see that gorgeous mountain over there, if they will get to clean this water, their life will immediately start changing. So start training at a bigger scale how they can absorb or tap better chi, better energy to start improving their lives. So, I mean, I love these ideas because it's not only like for me to you, no, it's for everyone, just to like, it's, you just have to see it, right? And then you try it, and then you put it to the test for yourself, and then you see some changes in your life, and, you know, more and more people will do it. So we'll stop less with this whole suffering, I'm always stuck thing, whatever. And that's when we all come together, you know, to change our lives.
Yes. Yes, Paloma. Awesome.
I love this idea. But for me, I see it so clearly, kind of thing, you know, like better chi, better location, better life, because you will feel better and you try to do better things. And if you start feeling better, then you start doing better things for others. And that's how we change the world, you know, like that's how we change as human, evolving our conscience, right? And so, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people, funny because I listen to a lot of people and I'm like, I wish I would be talking to them, because whatever they're saying, I come to complete their talk, you know, about like, a lot of people focus on, you know, the power of your mind, the power of your thoughts, et cetera, but not everyone can achieve that change. in control over their thoughts. And why is because they maybe want to do this, but they're aligned with other type of energy. So how can they change the thought? So you need these tools, these impulses all over to help you achieve those beautiful positive thoughts all day long, and move to a better place. So I love the idea about the TV show. I think that would be like a super, super, super cool. And I actually know some people that knows producers and that could do a lot of things.
That's the thing is, to me, it's almost like a no-brainer, right? It's like you can totally see it on one of these, channels like a Bravo channel or E channel or these other channels like that. And that's the thing is that, like, to me, like, that's just where you're headed, because that's what the highest level of production of video looks like for what we're talking about right now. Right. And so that's like the model that we see, in the world of, like reaching the most people in the most produced way, that sort of thing. The thing is that really, we are going to keep looking at it in that way, because I think that's what's coming for you just naturally. And we dial it back to the core concept behind it, which is delivering you in video in the most compelling and the most packageable and the most, monetizable in certain ways way, right? So what does that look like? And that's where we can start to do that immediately, essentially, right? At wherever we're at, right? So we start the practice of, packaging. And that's why we talked about, the feng shui for love and relationships, in February. And that's where, we are going to look at like some different types of promos that you can do in advance that are, a bit specific, and different ways that we can prepare for it and then capture it and then post produce it. And, again, starting to get into the types of models that we're talking about, and going from, again, what does it look like to do a workshop and turn it into a produced video that then you're now selling, and you have like commercials for, because we'll like create commercials for that video. Like there's a 30-second commercial, 1 minute commercial, why you want to pay $55 to watch this other video, that sort of thing. So again, we start to get into all of these different pieces, right? That we're doing, like you've talked about, where we're at, working with what we've got to work with, starting to lay the foundation for the masterclass, like you talked about last time, to be, starting to write the script and starting to put together the content. And I've actually created a whole new kind of concept. I've kind of crystallized it a little bit more that I'm going to share with you today about how we organize your content. You want to say something?
Perfect. Can you pause it? I think that the gardener is outside and I need to.
Okay, cool. So we're recording again. So so I was just saying that I've come to the realization that with the content, I'm creating a new paradigm for us creating content, capturing content, and using content. Because what I did to show you, I talked last time about the processing of the videos I talked about in the Leadership Council meeting. Yeah. And I just want to show you what I ended up doing. I decided to take the processing to the most extreme that I could. So this is what I did with Emiliano's video. And what I did was, I captured the time, the description, the different columns, because some had to do with his relocation, some had to do with business development within Uniting for Action, some had to do with the manifestation process, some had to do with Uniting for Action. So I was actually processing this one video from 4 different perspectives at the same time. Do you understand what I'm saying? These are all the clips that are related to this. These are all, so, and down to the seconds, there's even, 70 clips out of this one, hour-long video. And it just made me realize, to do anything less than this is not capturing all of the usable content that's in there. And to do this level of processing is going to require people power. This is basically what we have to start building a marketplace for immediately. This is the job, like people don't even know it, but this is like about to be the #1 job in America, because we need to have, you be able to create content at any time that you want to create it. And you're doing it with different people. So even again, having conversations with different people that are advising you, different friends, whatever, you'll be recording all of that, as much as you can. And then you're going to be handing it over to your processing people, and they're going to be picking out all the different pieces that this has to do with feng shui, this has to do with relationships, this has to do with master classes. You get what I'm saying? Like all this content that you're going to start using your time. Everybody is, but it's kind of the crazy paradigm, right? Is that we're all going to start to imagine all of our time in the world in terms of who we're talking to and what we're saying in that conversation that is being recorded for the purpose of then turning it into essentially something that can then be shared with multiple people, right? So you don't have to repeat that conversation with 20 other people. Now that you've captured it with that one, now you can just send these 20 people to this web page where you're talking about that, right? And you in particular have so much valuable content inside of you that you can be capturing content all day long, right? It's just a matter of, well, then what do you do with it, right? And you do need to have like a whole machine, right, that's turning all of that content into something. And the way that that works from a nano action perspective is that somebody goes through the video the way I just showed, breaks it all down to all of these bite-sized pieces, tags all of those pieces with what they should be. Again, feng shui or astrology or love and relationship. And then what happens is all those tags end up in the same place, right? And then you can come back later and you can say, let me see what's in my love and relationships bucket, what I've been sharing, what's here. And you can review and start to put it in order. And you can have people that can actually do it for you too, right? They can suggest, this is how I see all of this can go together. So again, you can review your own material in a really organized way, because you can just be talking for a week or 2 weeks. And then at the end of those 2 weeks, now you've got all of your content that you needed for a whole workshop, and it's just been collected along the way, right? So this is, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, my question is, this content that we're talking about, it's video.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It's all video content and it's all raw material, right? Like anything that you say, this is why, these videos need to be processed, because you said something, in the first minute that was like, different, off topic, about something in life or whatever, but was really great content for when you're, have a web page that talks about that, right? And right now, that content would be lost to the wind in our current, paradigm. Like that wouldn't have gotten captured. It wouldn't have got put in that place. You would never see it again, right? All those words that come out of your mouth are never to be seen again, right? So
that's why I get it. That's why I'm so good at interviews, because talking to someone gets me out all these things, because I'm always going to be, saying like a nice thing. So I get it. I get you.
Exactly. And then, again, you have a love and relationships program that includes like content from all these different people that you interviewed, a compilation show, love and relationship with these different celebrities, let's just say, if you want to look at, like, again, an interesting program, right? And so again, it's unlimited, in terms of the creativity and the opportunity. And again, you have the quality that you need to be able to do this at those different levels. So that's really, again, a matter of you starting to look into your network and your friends' network and imagining who you're 1 or 2 steps away from, who you could get introduced to right now with the idea, I am going to feng shui your home for the spring or for love and relationship. Actually, we should do it for love and relationships before Valentine's Day if we can. So you're doing, in the home, the sooner we can do that, the sooner you can use that as a promotion for your workshop. And then also, if we can even produce that into like a produced video, then people could pay, to have that video too. There's all the different options. But again, you see how it all fits together, and you see how we're starting where we're at right now, and we're heading in the direction that we're talking about. You get it?
Yeah, my only concern about that is that first, to record, it takes first a stand, a light, that the people agree, not everyone agree. So if I'm gonna see a client, the last thing they want is for them to be recorded, because what I do, it goes very deep into their private lives. So it's like, no one wants their private life exposed, right? So that I will have to, if I'm gonna record, I have to plan it.
Yeah,
and it has to be something that I'm doing in public.
Yes.
And with time later, if someone wants to, okay, that we're going to do this, open your house for feng shui, right? Or do you want me to read your chart in front of everyone? It is kind of not, it gets touchy-feely.
Yeah,
right?
but that's where all of that can be edited, right? So you don't have to, all of the sensitive stuff does not have to be in the video, right?
Okay.
There's all kinds of pieces that are not personal and not sensitive, and they get to keep all of that for themselves, but that doesn't get put out there in the public.
Okay. So I would have to always have like a not confidential agreement that I would not disclose.
Well, there has to be very specific agreements about the privacy and all of that. And it has to be, you are essentially taking on a lot of responsibility, because you're going to have like the raw video, and they're trusting that raw video won't get out into the world, right? Won't leak into the world in some way. So there's definitely sensitivities around it. But the thing is that those are just, challenges to be dealt with and accounted for, but it doesn't preclude you doing it. And, potentially, again, you could have like the public version where you just give all of this stuff that's suitable for television, and then you turn off the cameras, and then you tell them all the personal stuff too, right? So
the thing is that most of the job, I think, that we all do, let me just put my headphones, wait. I think it will work much better.
Yep.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Much better. Yay. So most of the stuff that we all, I think, mystics do, it's also in the moment.
Yeah.
Right? Like sometimes I just feel myself like talking and saying so many things that I'm looking at the people's chart. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I know I have this knowledge, but sometimes I didn't even feel it's me. Sometimes I feel if it's kind of even channeled. Obviously, I have, the knowledge to read, but I don't have that ability yet to stop and then think business and then think this. Because when you're going to say something, you say it in the moment. And that's how you connect with the client. So I do think that right now, whatever it is, like a more general, like a conference talk workshop, that's the one that can be recorded, and from then get the little bits and pieces. Funny that you mentioned all of this, Jared, because guess what I did yesterday? What? So I delivered my whole conference video, which I've been looking at it and I'm like, oh, you know what, that's not a good angle for me, makes me look like humongously big, the angle was down, it should be up, so I'm learning about all of that. And I delivered it to someone that is going to help me edit and get little bits and pieces, like you're telling me.
That's great.
Yes. So at least I'm moving into that direction and then learning how to do it. So with the next one, I can do it again, right? Because not everyone has the time nor the ability to want to watch a 2-hour-long little workshop, right?
Exactly.
And that's why I think now that the master classes come so handy, because a master class is added to keep you there, like to look, you look good, and then you listen to this, and then you learn this, and then you focus on this, and there's always changing and moving. In this workshop, it's just like 2 cameras, kind of like hearing this lady, which I'm very lively in person, and people, I definitely can keep people's attention, but before I started recording that, I asked everyone, going to be recorded, no one is going to see your faces, no one is going to know your names, do you agree? And everyone said yes. So I think for now, it's like people when it's in a general sense, I think it's fine to record, but I don't see how I can record like consultations that I make at people's houses, because first of all, they're wealthy people. They don't want anyone to know what they're doing, and nor they want anyone to hear what I'm telling them.
I don't think that you can do it with your existing clients. That's not what I'm. That's not what I'm. That's not what I'm suggesting at all. What I'm saying is that you can find people that you can offer something of value to them, that
But the free consultation.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The most influential people that you can, right? And that's again the way that we're going to be doing it. But part of it is that they are going to get a benefit out of having this, because this is publicity and expansion and awareness for them as well, right? And again, by them sharing it with their social media followers and that sort of thing, they're more interesting, they're more engaging, they're more cool. I mean, there's all kinds of incentives for influencers to do this with you. So don't think about whether your existing clients would want to have a camera in their home. Think about, again, these different celebrities that are in the world of, doing, TikToking in their home or whatever it is already, right? So it's people that are like opening up their world, to the world to see, and here's Paloma and what she has to bring into my world type of thing, right?
I like that. I like that. Funny, because now I got ideas. Everyone that is approaching me lately that wants to do something, or funny because everyone will want that. So I'm just gonna say let's record, like whatever we can, and then use a little of that content.
Exactly. We're going, and that's the thing, is that again, you can edit it down so it doesn't have to be everything. And like, I totally get what you're saying in terms of being in the moment and not shutting it on and off. So you're going to have the agreement with them that everything is going to be recorded, and then they can have final editing control, that there's not going to be anything that's going to be published that they aren't happy with, right? So that's going to be part of your agreement with them. Right. And so that way, in the end, the final edit has their sign off and there's no concerns. Right. So that's the agreement that you'll have with, these influencers or whoever you're doing the homes or the readings with, that sort of thing. And, it'll be fine. It'll be fine to be able to work that out, because again, you're incentivizing it enough to have some people participate. So it's not that everyone's going to want to do it, but there will be some people that will be a good match for you, that will give you what you're looking for as you're giving them what they're looking for.
Yeah, you're right. It's like find the right match and someone that is willing to do it.
And part of again, part of what Uniting for Action is doing is like being that matching service, right? Because we're bringing all these different people into the ecosystem. We just described in words what it is that you're looking for. Now we take this little bit of video and we put it out there and we say, we're looking for this person. And if you bring me this person, then I will give you this as well, and incentivize that, right? And so again, that's the way that we have these things happen quicker, right? Because without having this whole network and this whole game of what we're doing with each other, then it's kind of weird to always be going to people and say, hey, do you have an influencer that I could work with? Hey, do you have an influencer that I work with? You would be doing that every week about something else. And that's not the way we're structured as a society. That looks weird in our society right now, right? To be continuing going back to people. But when you have all of your needs mapped out and people understand that you're looking for certain things, and if they can give it to you, that they're going to receive a benefit out of it, like that can become a totally, that's their choice, just to tune into what you're looking for, right? And then to help provide it to you. So it's a whole different energetic flow.
I love it. I love that system. It's very fiery, as we keep on talking about. It's the new way. There's a new energy. There's no way back. So I know that system, is going to work very well at a certain point. So, and you're one of the first leaders putting it out there. So, I'm up for it.
Yeah, so that's exactly. I appreciate that. I appreciate that you see it, because, that's having that vision is the important part. Because now, again, we're going to start to get into, time frames for what you want to do, costs for what you want to do. We're going to talk about all the different roles, like you've already identified the videographer, the editor, you know, these other people. So what we're doing within Uniting for Action, as you can see, is we're always taking the needs of the individual and we're creating a way for that individual to put their contribution into the collective, and by leveraging the power of the collective, then we can get more for the same amount of resources, right? So in other words, like if you want to use like a top video editor, right? Like you don't have enough content, you know, to pay for somebody at that level, right? But when you're pitching in a certain amount and 10 other people are pitching in the same amount, so let's say you and 10 other people are pitching in $500. Now there's a $5,000 budget that somebody can do something that can serve everybody, right? You get what I'm saying? And so it's a way to leverage the resources here to be able to, essentially everybody is fractionally hiring all of the top, you know, or expertise that they can most afford, essentially, right? You can say whatever you're willing to pay, and this is like the expertise that you can get. The market will be very like set in a market rate. It's going to be very interesting to see, you know, people's talent level, what have you. But to bring it back to where we're at now so that you understand, like it's perfect that you found this person to do the editing. So now what there is to do, if they are interested in participating, is that they are going to become a part of you know, resources that are available within Uniting for Action. You're essentially introducing them into Uniting for Action, and then they can potentially be one of several different, you know, editors that are being potentially referred, but also based on performance, right? So this is where you're going to rate them and how good a job they do for you, so that, you know, people know, is this somebody that I can trust? Are they going to get the job done well? And that, all of that rating is what has you be able to know, like, can I afford to hire somebody with a 90% reliability or only like a 75% reliability? That's the way the market is going to go in the future. I know I'm going down very detailed like information for you, but I'm just trying to kind of give you a sense of, because what it looks like right now is it looks like us pooling resources. Again, video editors, processors, analysts, the types of analysis that I'm doing with you. We have to start having so many analysts, that the type of work that I'm doing with you, for them to do with all of these different potential clients, right? So again, it's defining all of these positions. And then because, you know, you can't, you know, go out in the world and hire a full-time analyst, but you can pay Uniting for Action, you know, however many thousands of dollars for the same type of analysis that would cost you, you know, a lot of time and energy, and maybe like, you know, not getting it right. And what are you paying for it? You get what I'm saying? Like it's this process of systematizing it all so that it's not all unknown, and it's based on a known result that you're going to get for a known defined cost within the system. Does that make sense?
Kind of. I mean, you got
me. I know I went down some deep levels there.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I appreciate
Yeah,
you.
but I know that you have your idea and your concept, and you're trying to put it to work. And yeah, we'll just kind of like, I mean, you know, like keep on doing it, keep on working it, and like I think whatever is meant will fall into place, sort of thing.
Yeah, but let me. I know I went off on some tangents there to explain some details, but let me kind of get at part of the point of what I was making there, is that it's perfect that you've hired the videographer and the video editor and that sort of thing. The model that we're creating as an organization is that whatever budget that you have for whatever you're looking for, you're going to contribute that into a collective pot for Uniting for Action, and Uniting for Action is going to give you the result that you're looking for. So right now, you know, it's very individualized because you just have this one video editor, but you can imagine when we have 1,000 video editors in the pot, right? And that here's what I'm willing to pay to get this video editing done, right? And then
exactly.
And then you get to see who's showing up and what skill level you're getting and that sort of thing for that rate. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes, but how that person gets paid? That's the part that I don't understand.
Yeah. So again, let's use a really tangible example. So let's say that you are willing to pay, somebody $1,000 to process your video into what you're looking for, right? Did you actually come up with a hired price for them? Did you guys agree on a rate and what they're going to do and get to that level of contract with them?
No,
or
they're
agreement?
actually doing it. No, they're actually doing it for, like, I mean, as a favor. So I'm
Oh,
not
that's
paying
great.
anything.
That's
Yeah, but
amazing.
I mean, wait a minute. They're not gonna do it as a favor all the time, right? I mean, like,
Yeah.
it's
You have,
impossible. This person
yeah.
is like a ridiculously high professional. He will do the best job of everything. But I mean, and it's a friend. I mean,
Right.
just out
So
of
do you
kindness. So I
know,
was trying to learn it myself. Yeah.
got it. So you're trying to learn it so that you can actually replicate what he's done or some of the things that he's done yourself?
Yeah. Like, I mean, so I can get little bits and pieces and learn, like a little bit more about the editing, but still I would need someone that would edit a good video, period. So
Exactly. So do you know what he would normally charge somebody for the work that he's doing for you?
he's very high end.
Right. So,
Very high end.
but
He
that's the
does
thing.
documentaries. So it's like, how
Right.
am I gonna be able to afford it?
No, I totally understand that. But when he's done, I would ask him to value it so you know what the market value of that is, so that there's a data point to know that, like, this is what it would normally cost. And if you want something like this done for a video, 2 months from now, that you should expect to pay this amount of money, right?
I guess.
Because that's the real cost that we have to put in. So what we're going to do now is we're going to focus on the real cost. If you're paying everybody to do everything that you want done in order to shoot videos, edit videos, produce videos, do all of the consulting, get to, the content organization, get to the script development. You get what I'm saying? Like, we have to outline all of the actual costs of all of that. Now, if you can get somebody to show up and do it as a favor, then that's great. And if you have other
Yeah, but that's not gonna be the case. We all know people need remuneration, and they need it kind of immediately, So that's the part that I was asking you, like, how are these people gonna get paid?
Yes. So the answer to that is that, again, let's just say, as an example, you're paying them $1,000 to do the video editing. Then the way that we're going to do it is you're going to provide the $1,000 to Uniting for Action. And what Uniting for Action is going to do is it's going to pay somebody, and it could be the same person in this case, as an example, right? But not by the money passing through the system. Then what Uniting for Action can do is it can pay that person with a portion of the money and negotiate a different kind of rate with them, and use a portion of the money to build out the systems and build out the management and build out the whole process. Because what needs to happen now is, this is the thing, is what I just described to you in terms of like the content processing. We need to hire somebody for you. And let's just imagine, I'm going to give you what I'm imagining like real prices are, because this is the thing, is when I went through the video with Emiliano's video, I realized by the end of it, I spent literally 5 hours on a 1 hour video, just processing, just myself. And I don't have the time to keep doing that on processing videos. And it can be much quicker by people that are much more skilled than me at doing that sort of thing. So we need to start hiring these people in order to create like the content that you're looking for, to build out your interactions with people, right? So imagining that, like, for every hour of video content you're creating, that you're paying $100, $200, $300, whatever it is, to get that process, to get it into a raw format that then you can go ahead, if you want, and polish any parts of it for your content library. Does that make sense?
Kind of. I mean, I do think that these people, whatever is gonna work for, they're just not gonna kind of bite it. And they're not gonna be wanting to participate. People wants, if I'm gonna do a job for you, then I'm gonna get paid. Not like it goes through like a bank sort of thing. So I didn't thought that of Uniting for Action to be like a system that would work. If I'm gonna pay someone, it's gonna be the person that is gonna do the video, because that's the agreement that we both made, sort of thing.
No, I totally understand. And in this case, you're going to do that. What I'm suggesting to you is that it's an automatic process to be able to leverage the power of the collective in terms of pooling resources to be able to get higher level results for the same resources. Do you see that?
I mean, I do see your point. I just don't kind of like fully agree with it. I think I would pay directly the person that is going to do the job, sort of thing. What I thought it was like you were creating a system where everyone can kind of find each other, you know, like, I mean, which I think, you know, I agree. And then, you know, create something together. But I thought what you were doing is kind of like creating this website to expose what everyone is. So it's like a center, right, to get resources.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Let me explain it a different way, because I understand the way you're interpreting it, and I totally appreciate where you're coming from with the energy of it. I think you're describing it better than I am. So let's put it this way. You've taken time and energy to go and find a certain resource. Let's use the example of the videographer, because the person that's doing the editing for you as a favor, that's like that's a different situation. But let's say, okay, you found this videographer and you spent time and energy to find this videographer. Now you can share with the network, hey, I found this person if you're interested in using them, right? And the way that you would do that in the system is if that person wants to be referred into the system, right? If that person says, oh, I like what you guys are doing and I want to be a resource, not only for you, Paloma, but for anybody else in Uniting for Action that could use my services, yes, I would like to be available to them. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, so imagine that you just invite them, you give them the opportunity. Are you interested in being available to everyone in the network, you know, for what you do? So does that make sense? And do you see why people would potentially be interested in being available?
Yeah. The thing is that people cares about what's the network, because, you know, for that there's Yelp, you know, like to leave a review, and we're talking about a referral. So yeah, but
yeah, exactly. So you're making a really good point. There are existing mechanisms for what we're talking about out there. And now what we need to do is we either need to partner with Yelp or we need to partner with whoever to have this be a part of the whole system. That we're getting right now into the business part. And I see that there's a little challenge on your part, you know, energetically with this. So I totally appreciate that you're being with me and we're being in conversation and we're working through our, you know, whatever challenges are there for us in this energy. The opportunity, it's Uniting for Action is an invitation system, right? Nobody has to be a part of this system, and people can choose to show up and provide services to others. So you're choosing to show up and you're choosing to provide your information to people in the form of products, in the form of whatever, right? And you're joining Uniting for Action because you want to provide what you have to offer into the system, right? So now that you've found somebody that is serving your needs and might be interested in serving other people's needs within Uniting for Action, then you can just simply give them an invitation. Hey, if you're interested, you can sign up for Uniting for Action. There's all these other people like me that could want to hire you as well. Okay, so they don't have to accept the invitation, but you're offering.
I just have to tell them.
You're offering the invitation. And the thing is that you've already done some legwork. You've already gone out and found this person. And there's all these other people in Uniting for Action that don't, you know, either can't take the time to find this person or whatever. You've done the legwork to find them. So you're creating value just by bringing this person to the table. Do you see what I'm saying? You're bringing value for everybody else. Now this person has shown up and now this person is being part of a resource pool that everyone in the whole system has access to, this resource pool of people that have chosen to be here because they want to serve all of the different people in this resource pool, right? We're not twisting anybody's arm to be a part of Uniting for Action, but we're creating an opportunity for a videographer, a video editor, a video, anybody to show up and all of a sudden have all of these opportunities.
Okay, so what you're trying is like to recruit more people. So I will tell the videographer too, like, you know, about United for Action, and let's see if he wants to join. So I will give him what, your information or what?
Yeah, what we're describing now isn't even pre-packaged yet. So yes, so this would just be a matter of me talking to this person, because this person would not be joining as a leadership council member, which is primarily what I've been focusing on, but this would be more like a business member sort of thing. And this is where, again, you know, all of that is getting defined. So I would talk to that person about, you know, what they're looking for, you know, what they want to charge, what they'd like to pay. We're making a win-win system for everybody so that that person has incentives and has wins by offering what they have to offer, having a whole new marketplace. And videographers and video editors are like, they're the ones going to be in the highest demand. It's more, you know, almost, well, it depends on where we're at in the evolution, but at this moment, somebody like that, it would seem for sure would get the business that, you know, they're looking for and would be rewarding for them, right? That it would be there would be a win, a strong win.
Yeah, they're just looking for results. Most of the people are looking for results. They're looking for referrals and, you know, like a way to earn money, but it all depends on how big is your network. So if your network is 10 people, then I mean, from those 10 people, who's gonna need something to, you know, get a video? So I think the focus should be on creating like a bigger network sort of thing. But anyway, so this is like for United for Action, I can do that. I can tell the videographer, hey, do you want to join? And then he's gonna talk to you, and then you're gonna ask him for some money. And he's gonna be like, oh my God, I mean, it's kind of crazy, right? But like it's people choices, so I can do that.
Yeah, and the point of it again is that people are challenged to find reliable resources. If you found a good one, that's great for them. People like him, usually people are challenged to expand their business. They always want more clients or get paid more or whatever. So if there's a way that they can expand their business, and there's a way that you can help people satisfy their need for the same thing that your needs were, then you're creating a win-win for everybody, right?
Yes.
You see that? So we're just working on creating opportunities for win-wins for everybody. Nobody has to choose to be a part of anything if they don't want to, but we're creating the opportunity to create the win-win. And you know, when you talk about, you know, needing to have a big network or what have you, of course, we want to focus on building the network. And the way that we will do that is when we can offer like an automated membership to anybody, where anybody can go online, sign up, everything is automated, and all of that is built out in my head. But we need to actually have some programmers working on that, because that's not going to be, you know, I'm going to build a very early version of that, as I shared with you. I'm going to launch the very early version in the coming weeks, like with the channels and that sort of thing. But this is, again, where we have to have enough people showing up, supporting the vision, saying, yes, I want that, I'm joining, I'm putting in, you know, $100 a month, you know, $1,000 a month, whatever people are putting in, that is then building all of this, right? So that's the process. And that's where, again, yes, we are getting to the masses quickly, but we can create, there's enough incentive for really anybody showing up at any level right now, because all of us have needs around these things. There's already needs for a videographer or a video editor or what have you. And well, I think I've said enough, but you get what I'm saying about create.
Yeah, sure.
There, you know, we've been in the leadership council mode because you and I have been working with the leadership council members, but you are venturing into the stakeholder mode, right? Because again, when we look at all of these visions, all of the stakeholders that need to be hired to, you know, achieve all of these visions are people like the people that you're hiring, right? So if you're getting an experience, if you're learning from this, the whole network wants to know what you're learning, right? The whole network wants to know, what is Paloma learning? Is this a good person? Can I rely on this person? What's the cost? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Of
And
course.
that what you say, of course, but that's really important for you to get that. That's why we want everyone to come into the network as much as people choose to, because then everyone in the network gets to know everything that everyone else in the network knows, essentially, right? We're all group learning and we're all supporting each other. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. I do.
Okay, cool. I appreciate that.
Mm.
So in that respect, so coming back to, I think what I want to do, let me show you what I prepared in terms of like an outline.
Mhm.
What's your, should we plan to wrap up by 11:30? Does that sound like a good target?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so
These videos are from someone else?
which videos?
Like what you're showing me, like the video time set. So what I think I would like to go through is like the manifestation process, right? I think that's what we were going to be doing today.
Yeah, that's what I'm pulling up here.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I outlined from our video from last time. So to answer your question in terms of the processing of your video, this is what I did in terms of the processing with the timestamps of your video that we went through yesterday. So this is what I was doing this morning, as I was walking and listening. So you can see all of how much I, stamped it and chopped it up. And so this is your video with the timestamps. It's not at the same level of detail as the other one because this was me walking and talking and what I could do, not at my computer. But I've got it all broken up in that way. And this is the way that I outlined everything in terms of here's the main strategies for us to focus on. Here are the value exchanges. So, just to quickly go over it, and then we'll, I'll have you share what you want to share about it. You've got the content development, and I broke that down a bit, the brand development, the technology implementation, and the audience building. And so I think there's more beyond that, but I think that those are four, good categories to look at. Are you able to see that?
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me blow it up a little more.
Yeah, content, product, yeah, workshops, okay, learning film, different promos, private consultations, master classes. Okay, I like that.
So yeah, so this is, again, we're going to keep, filling in the details and the content and the product development. We'll go into, the brand development and what's there, the technology implementation, the audience building. So, we've talked about some of this already, like with the influencers and that sort of thing. But these are the details that we can just, go right through right now, just to kind of give you an overview of this is where I'm seeing that the current, work is right now for you as a business, on all levels. So let's just quickly read through anything you want to say before we just quickly read through it, and then we'll talk about them in some detail.
No, I mean, it's funny because I had lost you. No, so I mean, is there anything that from here that we need to talk about?
Yeah, well, let me read through it so that you get a sense of the way that I'm breaking it down. So with the content product development, I see that you have the workshops, and the love and relationship is the next one, and to film different promos for it, as we talked about, and then to process it, and talk about that. And then, private consultations, I know you talked about the limit of that. We'll talk, again, we want to figure out where that fits in terms of a role and what role that plays. The master classes and developing the content for that. The television episodes, like I shared with you, like MTV Cribs as a model of what that looks like, a walkthrough in the home and that sort of thing. And then the brand development, the name, like we talked about, getting finalized on the name, and then your image, and there's a lot of different things, for us to talk about there, but using photography and videography, and then you being a model for how you hold your energy in a very beautiful and dignified way. So I think that that's a really important aspect, especially with the content that you're sharing with people, is that you're being a model in your beingness in the ways, energetically that you're projecting yourself out into the world. So this is a really, intentional aspect of everything, right? Is your image in video, in images. There's like a lot, there's a whole world, you know, that I think you've scratched the surface of a little bit, but a whole world of how you project into the world just with your image, right? Imagine yourself on a billboard, right? As people are driving by. I mean, there's, so again, I'm just kind of letting you share or letting you see, or that I see the bigness of that and all of that. And that's where my mind goes, you know, as well. Like we talked about last time, the whole production side of things. And so then the technology implementation, you know, website for the reasons that we talked about last time, getting everything organized, organizing your content, the video editing, selling the videos online. So the technology that's involved for that. I just want to make sure you're hearing me since I'm not seeing you.
Yeah, I am. I'm so sorry. I got super out of something. I am hearing you. I'm so sorry. I was trying to get back in. Okay, so tell me.
No worries. And then the audience building. And again, that's a big part. And so we talked about it, you know, again, in terms of the conferences, because, you know, you mentioned when we talked about it last time, you mentioned that, you know, with a conference, you can talk to 1,000 people. And then from there, you get products, referrals, you get consultations, whatever. And so again, getting back to what we talked about, we look at the conferences and all of that for the purpose, but in terms of the purpose of building audience, you know, let's look at it from that broader perspective of, okay, so your objective is audience building. There's a role for conferences in that, a role for working with influencers, and then, you know, your whole social media presence and all the different things that are involved in that. And there's a lot in that, right? So there's a lot when we talk about this, you know, having this national, international presence and television and all of that sort of thing. Then in order to get to those levels, like we're talking about, a lot of, like, for example, audience building needs to happen, right? You need to be building, you need to be building an audience and a following and having social media and all these different pieces that you haven't necessarily given time or attention to or necessarily wanted to, right? But again, we need to, if we're going to be saying that we're going to be having these other things, we can't be skipping steps, right? We can't be just expecting that, like, miraculously you show up here, right? So we have to be doing all the things that are expected for somebody that's doing all the things that you're doing, right? And we have, so we have to account for that in time. We have to account for that in cost. We have to make sure that as we're looking at everything, like we've talked about, this is where we narrow things down and say, is this realistic to do, you know, in the next 3 months? Or should I set my expectation to be, you know, more like 6 months for that part? Or, you know, what does it look like? And this is where, you know, I can share with you what's in my mind in terms of, like, you know, investment in the process, investment in the brand building, the website building, like all of the professionals, all of the everything. I'm imagining in my head, if you wanted to be on like an accelerated schedule, because I see this as being like what you could do if you wanted to be on like the quickest schedule to be, you know, financially, like you mentioned too, I've also been thinking financially for you, how you get to the higher levels of the financial quickly. So like the landform, feng shui, like taking on those sorts of clients, I imagine you get paid like tens of thousands of dollars for those types of clients, right? So
not really. I wish.
Well, we'll make it that way. We'll make it that way because that's the way it should be for that sort of thing, right? And that's where we have to be, again, creating the vision of where we're going with all of this and all of the finances associated with it so that we can march through it. But the way that I'm seeing it in my mind, and this is just rough numbers, but I would imagine that if you were investing like $5,000 a month in the whole business development, that's like everything, brand building, website, video production, like all of that for like 4 months, that you would be ready to be like produce your master class, you know, by that time.
And the problem, Jared, is that there's no way that I even have that amount of money. So like, I don't have money to invest. I have content to produce, to make money. So
I understand. That's where I totally get that. So this is where we go with that. So
if I would have had the money, I would have already hired the people, you know, so
I totally get that. And so this is where we go with that, is these are your value exchanges, right? So you have one of the ways that you exchange value is through finances, right? And so then the other ways that you exchange value are through your talents, things that you're able to do, and then through your relationships, right? Ways that you connect people, ways that you create value for others. These are the currencies that you have to exchange, especially if you're limited in finances. Then you have to look at, well, what else do I have to exchange? What do I have that I can monetize in order to be able to do this? Because if I don't have the finances for it and it requires finances, or I know it does, or whatever, then what am I going to do to, either create the finances for that, or create the favor for this person that gets me that? Do you get what I'm saying? And that's where the system, when it gets more advanced, and we've talked about in the future, when the system is very advanced, you can say, I don't have any finances, but I could offer, 2 sessions to 2 different people if this result got created for me, right?
Well, that would be ideal, once the system is like really big, because what we need is like more people to be in the system, of course. So, but for now, I just need to figure it out, on my own, and try to marketize something, to make and create some money. And that money, like everyone else, like reinvested in your business by doing these, by doing that, by doing that. But right now, I just guess I need the platform to try to start selling, like some of the like the video at least, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But because I have invested already way too much, and I need to reinvest again, and I record it and then edit it and kind of get it ready. So
yeah, I get it. And I totally understand that. And that's where, we have to start setting expectations, like, okay, so for what you've invested, what are your expectations for your sales, and how are you going to get those sales? And this is where we go down to the very nitty-gritty details, because again, if you want to start creating some organic growth path, then you have to figure out, like, how is the money going to come in, right? And that's where, like, the video sales, for example. So let's say for the one that you just did, that you're getting, so is your friend is editing the content of what you did for the last time?
No. That's something extra. That's something that if I'm ready to sell, we have to make this advertising first, and then edit the video, like in a way that, you purchase it, then you download it from, or where can you see it from, or how can I deliver it to you, sort of thing. So no, they don't. Editing takes a long time, take hours. So people wouldn't do it for free. What it's just gonna do for me is just kind of like cut the mini its and bits that he thinks it's important. So this way I learn what people really wants to hear, sort of thing. So it's just a very small favor, sort of thing. But no, he's not editing. I will have to pay someone to truly edit it and do something that it can be sellable. Because for what I was looking is not even that great, right? It was just videotape. But like we talk about it, we had to start somewhere, to start getting more things, and to start, teaching us how to record the next time, to make it look professional. Maybe better lighting, maybe this is a better product, so little by little, I guess. But I am looking for platforms to be able to sell it through. And that's what I thought, everyone can make money. Because okay, if you sell it through my platform, I get this percentage, and you get this percentage, and that's how everyone makes money instead of paying money, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's the way that, as you said, we're building that platform so we can have that, for sure. We want to have that platform, obviously, as quickly as possible for everyone. In terms of what platforms are out there right now for you to reach people, it's essentially Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, right? Those are basically, and YouTube. Those are basically your places to sell, so to speak, by having friends share, essentially, was what it comes down to, right? Again, that's where it all brings it back to this networking aspect, right? It's like, how do you get in front of people right now? I suppose that there are sites that have to do with metaphysics or what have you. And I guess, you definitely want to do some research to see, are there existing, channels where people can show up, like Gaia or something like that, where people are showing, showing up. But that's where, again, there's probably, depending upon them, like for Gaia, you would need, I would imagine, a higher level of video production than you had for last time, right? Just needs to needs to look nicer, all of that. So again, that's where we're stepping up to. So where are we at right now? And what are the platforms that are available at the moment in order to, give you what you're looking for, right?
Definitely. I completely agree with you. Depends how is it going to sell. But there always has to be the first time, there's always has to be the first video, and with the time, obviously everything gets improvement. So that's why we're trying to figure it out. So now we have these content, right? I wasn't 100, like obviously not super happy, but now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, I mean, it's nice, I like what I say, but the angles are terrible, like this and this and that. I mean, it could have been better, but it was the first time for all of us too. Right. So, but we're gonna try to make the most use out of it within the platforms that I already have, right? The more that you put it yourself out there, the more, like clients that I can get, and maybe the more that I can start asking, do you mind filming this or something like that? But also the problem with filming is that it requires a third party. It requires a third person, the person behind the camera, and that person needs to be paid for its time, so
these are exactly, these are all the real costs, as well as, this consulting that I'm giving with you, right? Like
exactly
this consulting is going to be, I've been trying to figure it out, how much we're going to charge, Uniting for Action is going to charge others for this type of consulting. I would say the way that I figured it out, if we would do, and I understand that you're limited in finances, so I understand whatever, we may not do any more finances now, which is fine. But what I'm imagining is, if when we're going to be charging clients for this, that this would essentially be like a 4-week, $2,000 consulting process, where we're meeting like once a week for 4 weeks to take them through the planning into the recruitment process. I'm imagining, I'm just trying to value in my mind, that to me is actually even like, again, not like if you had to go out and hire somebody to try to do what we've been doing, I would imagine, and I don't know for sure, but I would imagine if you wanted to find like a reputable business that you wanted to be sure you were going to get the results, you wanted that sort of thing, it would be somewhere in the like $5,000 to $10,000 range to do, the type of consulting essentially that we've been doing, and that you're ending up with at the end of this, right? To have everything detailed and have everything specified and be so clear with the plan and all that sort of thing. So, the ways that, even just imagine, the concept of going from, a conference-centric business to an influencer-centric business, right? Just imagine the difference in what your whole world looks like over the coming months, just now being in this zone, in this realm. Do you get what I'm saying? It's essentially, what I'm trying to do the best I can is replicate my brilliance into a system, so that every analyst can bring brilliance to the analysis, right? I think, with where we're at right now, with all that I've been sharing, I'm trying to give you a sense of the value for it, so you can understand that, if you want to expect, value again in the future, then, and again, you'll have to see, again, we want to develop essentially the most inexpensive option, most efficient use of resources, that a client could possibly have, is that when they put it into the system, they're going to get, more out of the system than they could get by putting their resources any other way, because any other way is like the path unknown. And even if they choose to do that, when they do that, then to bring that resource back into the, to the collective, so everybody else doesn't have to replicate finding that.
Yeah, people will never put money into something that they're not seeing results. And I think that was kind of like the beginning of the whole thing when I decided to join. I'm like, okay, let's give it a try. And
Yeah.
if I like it, I keep on doing it. And if people doesn't like it or doesn't see results, then, you know, you're out. And that's how kind of it works. So I think you're like, what you're doing now is more like a little bit of business coaching, you know, like, I mean, guiding or, you know, like, you know, talking, encouraging and motivating, which I think is really good because, yeah, you know, like, I mean, it's encouraging. But by the very end, most of the stuff, now I'm finding out that I'm doing it all by myself, by, you know, like finding the resources, etc. I thought you had a bigger system that I was going to be able to benefit from, but I see that that system is not created yet. It's an idea and I like it, right? But I mean, it takes about convincing other people to put some money in and kind of wanted to be part of it. And by the very end, no one wants to work for free. Sort of thing. So that if we skip that, like what I want to see is I want to see results in these systematization of the manifestation process, which I mean, that's what you've been really like, you know, like helping with. But then you know, we go back to this. So what I know that I really need is a producer. You know, I have come to this like, okay, I'm doing all these things now. Someone that really gets it out, a producer and someone that can market it. So and that's kind of like, I mean, for me, that's the next step. Right.
And yeah, and have you looked to see what those producers and what those marketers cost? So, but you know that they're going to cost something, right? And
so what a producer do is funny because they usually believe in the product and the service and the person, and they invest their money because they know that they can make money off of you. You know, they need they have the knowledge from the producing part. So you know, like so like I always say, like, okay, I'll do the talk, whatever you want me to do, whatever, and then you market it and sell it and everyone wins. I think that's a win-win situation.
right.
Like, I mean, that I'm trying to find.
Okay, and so here we're defining what you're looking for with a producer, right? So now we're defining it on video now, right? And now because we're defining it on video, you get to share it with your friends, you get to share it with the leadership council. Hey, I'm looking for this person. And, you know, the incentive for them is that, you know, they're going to be connected with me and get to make me, you know, they're going to get to have all this success. And the incentive for you to share this with your producer friends is this, you know, and whatever incentive you can offer them. And whatever incentive you offer them is the way that this is going to propagate to your producers out there in the world, right? You get to decide how quickly it gets propagated by deciding how incentivized it is for the people that you're asking to propagate it out into the world. Do you get what I'm saying? Like if you ask a leadership council member, hey, I'm looking for a producer, you know, can you connect me with a producer? And in their mind, they're thinking of 3 different producers, you know, but they don't know, you know, a lot about you, and they don't know if they want to connect you with these producers. So they would have to invest some time and some energy to make sure that they want to connect you with these important producers that they know, right? So it's going to cost them something to connect you with somebody, right? So you have to be offering that person enough to overcome whatever in their mind is like, if I don't connect her, I don't have a problem, right? So what is going to make them choose to make the connection? Do you see what I'm saying? And that's a choice by every person that you ever potentially get in front of with this. So you have to have an incentive for different people for different things. And if you don't do that, if you're not doing all of that, then yeah, you're sitting in your home, you know, oming and waiting for the producer to show up in your world, right? And not that can't happen, right? And does for you in certain ways. But what we're doing is we're systematizing the whole process, like you're saying, so that producers know that here's where all of the, you know, people are, and the producers are showing up looking for you, and friends are trying to connect with you, and all of this is happening. So you're right, you know, I want to be really clear, because I know I heard you say it, and I know you felt it in the moment that, you know, you thought we had a bigger network or something like that. I've been, you know, I think very clear from the very beginning that you're one of the very first people, and we're all starting to do this together. And it's the crowdsourcing that everyone is doing that creates the network. And that's why I want to kind of make clear, if you and everyone else that's in the network just goes and finds somebody and hires that person and just does it on the side and never brings it into the network, then we're not crowdsourcing all of what we're doing in society. And if we're not crowdsourcing it, if some one person needs to be responsible, that's where we're not taking advantage of the resources we have. So that's why we're all agreeing to do it. And yes, you're being a trailblazer. And so a lot of times you may be out in front where you're finding people before we can find people. But that's why we want you and others to be recognizing the value that you're getting out of, even like in the consulting part of this. I would encourage you, if you know, to just take a look at what you feel the value is that you've gotten out of this whole process even till now. And I would encourage you to imagine, you know, that it's even more than you've put in already, you know. And the one thing also that I want to clarify about what you're saying is that it's all in words and it's all plans until the plans get put into motion. But those are different actions, and those are different processes. You're going to potentially hire different people to create plans than you're going to hire for people to actually put plans into action and that sort of thing. Those are different skills essentially, right? So we don't, you know, sometimes we'll find people that are doing both, but sometimes we'll hire people for one and we'll hire other people for the other. But the point I'm making is that there is a very tangible value for you, and I certainly hope you see it and want you to see it, very tangible value for you of the plans that we're already creating and the ways that we're outlining it and the visions that we've been connecting and the visions that I've helped put in your head through our conversation, right? We're saying, I see it so clearly. That's the value, you know, that you and others in our society need to start attaching to finances, essentially, because we have to figure out a way to connect the financial dots so that we can have people, you know, show up to help us create our visions, help us implement our visions, all those different parts, the vision holders. And this is where there's two people, just to kind of wrap this up, there's two different people that you're going to attract right now. It's the three different people. It's the analysts, the vision holders, and the stakeholders, okay? So the analysts are going to be the ones that are going to help you really tune into like the costs. Like, okay, for a marketer, this is what I'm going to have to pay a marketer, or for a website, you know, so the analyst is going to help you determine your actual cost, determine what you need, determine how you need to store things, whatever you need answers for. The analysts are the ones that are helping you figure that out, right? While you're trying to get your plan down. So you're working in the planning phase still, you're working with the analyst. Then the vision holders are next. You're looking to find your vision holders, because your vision holders are the ones that are in alignment with your vision enough to want to help you create the results that you're looking for, to help you execute your plan, essentially. They're not necessarily going to be the executors. They're not necessarily the marketers or the producers, but they're people that could help you find that. They're people that could open up their network to help you find what you're looking for, right? They can refer people. They can somehow help your vision move along. So those are the vision holders. And then the stakeholders are the ones that are going to be the ones that are going to actually execute. The videographers, the video editors, the social media people, you know, the influencers, all the different entities that you're going to be working with to create the end result, right?
Yeah.
And then this consulting, all the consulting I'm giving with you to help you understand all of this on this level, this is definitely something, again, that we're going to start. I'm still trying to figure out how to package it and how to sell it and all that sort of thing, but I'm getting more and more clear as we're going through the process, the real expense of the process in terms of time and energy and all of that, and what's going to be reasonable in terms of this level of detail. We're going to keep providing all of the self-service tools, right? And that's why this is great. Now that we have this video, other people can watch it. They can, on their own, use the manifestation process, and we're going to keep making all of that the best we can, so people can do self-service, you know, all the time, and they don't have to hire somebody. But if they're going to hire somebody to do something and create a result, it's like, okay, I've done everything I can individually. I need somebody to show up and look at this and analyze this and figure this out. And so that's, you know, part of it too, is figuring out the costs in that and everything. So again, you know, at this point, I feel like, you know, you've gotten to a really great place in terms of understanding, you know, the whole vision. We've got a lot of it mapped out. We've got the beginning to the end kind of thing. Now you're at the place, like you're saying, where you have to start to focus on creating the content and then selling the content. And this is where, you know, again, kind of the rubber meets the road a little bit in terms of once you get the video produced and edited, then where is it going to sell and to whom? Because that is going to be kind of the toughest part to begin with in terms of like, how are you going to sell, you know, 10 videos, 100 videos, 1,000 videos? Like, where are those people going to come from that I'm going to sell, you know, even 100, you know, of these videos? Like, how many of my friends would buy this video? Who can I find that would buy, you know, this video type of thing? And that's where, again, the answer to that essentially comes in the building of a following, because it's not, you essentially will get all those sales over time once you have a following. And part of it too is that you're creating products now that as you build your following, then people will be buying, you know, Love and Relationships, even though you did that 6 months ago, you know, they're buying it now because they're new to you now, right? So it's really building the following, and building the following is a lot, right? There's a lot there. We've hardly even, you know, gone down that road in our conversation. So again, you know, who are you going to hire to build that following for you? You need to essentially hire somebody, some entity to do that for you, because, you know, again, we've talked a lot, and this is where it began, is that you're not built to be that person, right? That's not what you're here on the planet for. And it's a really essentially unproductive use of your time to be doing video editing and to be doing social media, you know, and doing all of these things. Like you said, you need to get to where you have a whole team that's managing all of that, right? So that producer, I definitely want to encourage you to keep holding that vision for the producer that you're imagining that will show up, and that you keep in the meantime figuring out, okay, well, how am I doing this along the way, right? And so again, I think, you know, one of your best processes right now is by essentially crowdsourcing that support from Uniting for Action. You know, I'm going to keep being available to some clients. I'm going to train people, analysts, up as quickly as I can to have somebody, you know, a student or somebody that could be meeting with you and helping you, you know, with these things. That's where, like we talked about, I'm going to start creating job postings for the students in these areas to start doing these sorts of things and start creating the marketplace. And that's where, again, you get to decide, you know, do I want to show up and say, you know, here's the budget that I have for this to get this done? And that's where, again, you're going to have to really look at all of these pieces and figure out, do I have a budget for this? If I don't have a budget for this, then what am I going to do? You know, you talk about, you know, you have to do this. So you have to figure out, it's either budget or an alternative, but it can't be nothing, right? It's like, it has to get done, right? So it's like, how do each of these steps get done? So to me, that's where there's still a bit of work to bridge some of these gaps. To me, that's where, you know, if we're going to keep meeting, and I'm open to figuring out how to make it happen, but I just be, you know, really direct and honest in saying that I'm, you know, really challenged in a financial way right now, in the sense that I have to make sure that my time, my personal time, like this time, is being, you know, having some flow of finances in order to at least, you know, maximize the value of my time, right? I've given my time for so many years to create all of the value that I'm now giving out into the world. And now is the time that we need to have the financial foundation in order for all of this to work, in order for, you know, all of this to work, right? So that's where, you know, my ideal, you know, is that we keep working together on a, you know, ongoing basis, every week, every couple of weeks, whatever it looks like. And we have to figure out, you know, how to structure the finances to be able to have a financial flow to Uniting for Action for the value that we're creating for you. And that's a model for every other need that you have, you know, from social media to marketing to everything.
So I thought that was part of the membership that I have already paid, you know, like for 3 months. So like I really thought you had like a bigger kind of group. I thought the website had like a lot of followers, and that's kind of what I was thinking when I joined. But now I see, I mean, what you're trying to tell me. But like, I mean, I don't even know. Like, I mean, what else to tell you? Like, I like
Yeah.
your
So,
motivation, and I like, I mean, the encouragement and the whole thing. And I know that I need to do all of these things, and I have started to do some of them. So you're definitely being very helpful. But I mean, now I need to like, like turn it into some money, right?
yeah,
So
exactly.
I thought I was going to be able to sell my product probably through your website, but I don't even think that there's enough followers or, you know, like,
So yes, you will have the opportunity to sell it through the website. In terms of how soon there will be people that will be coming and purchasing it on the website, it's a little bit of an unknown right now. It's not today. Like today,
mhm,
you wouldn't have people finding it, but we can post it on your page and we can send it into the Leadership Council. And again, if there's incentives enough for the Leadership Council, well, many of them have their own followers and they could share it on Instagram and they could share it on Facebook. And that's where, again, we're putting the process in place. So
mhm,
it's rather than think about like this just, kind of mass of people on Uniting for Action. Imagine Uniting for Action being the source into individuals that each have their own following, right? Everybody is an influencer for whoever follows them, right? And so you essentially at this point where you're at with what you're looking for is you want to ask certain people who are influencers to share your information, right? And so that's what you're normally doing with your friends. Hey, can you share this sort of thing? And you'll do that with your friends. And there's a deeper level that you want to have more people sharing it than just your friends, right? You get what I'm saying?
yeah,
And on the channel is where people will be finding you once we start getting the whole thing going. So yes, that's
mhm,
coming, and that's not that far away. I would say by the end of your 3-month term that we're already doing that. I can't say when, in the next couple months we're going to
mhm,
get there.
mhm.
But yeah, we will have people showing up on the channel and finding you there. In the meantime, it's more a matter of the individual connecting, which will always be a part of this. And that's part of what I'm trying to, kind of help show you as well, is that if you want to have, doing these things with these influencers and, having these big audiences with these influencers, you can start to look at the other people on the Leadership Council right now as influencers within their own worlds, right? So it's having these individual conversations, inspiring people enough. And that's why even when you're just sharing in the meeting, it's having people like get to know you and like, being inspired by you. And now, like for example, one of the Leadership Council members the other day sent me a message saying she's amazing after I showed your video to her. Yeah. She
That's
said,
so good.
exactly. So
That's what makes me happy.
this,
Like makes me happy. Connecting with people makes me happy. Like, I
yeah.
mean, I don't know why.
So I wanna, temper your expectations. I want to make sure that you're not feeling like you're getting that you're not getting what you thought you would get, or you're not getting what you expected, or what have you.
No, I actually really like it because I think you've been very motivating and help me put my thoughts into like a process and give it that little push, because for some reason I have been more focused on things done, and at least like once a day, right? So that I didn't used to do it before. It could be 4 days sometimes, and I just didn't do much because I still have to, like how am I gaining like people and clients, and the whole thing is through what I do through Astro Paloma, right? And those videos take me a long time to do and actually to mini produce, which is they're simple videos, but that's how I growing my followers. So now I think another thing that I need to learn how to do is to grow the followers, which I mean that's another job too. But what time is it? Because I think I'm gonna have to be leaving very soon. Do you know
Yeah,
what time?
it's 11:45 now.
So we passed the time because I mean we had said like at 11:30, but I mean I'm very 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 grateful, like to have got together today and to hear. I think you and I see eye to eye. Like you describe me as how I've seen myself. It's kind of funny, right? Is this serendipity? Is this coincidences? Like I do see myself on television, you know, like I'm on interviews. I mean, obviously growing like you know, like a followers or clientele. And I like to project that. Now, what I really need to do is like, okay, the steps of how am I gonna get there? Right? You have to be ready for when that happens. And anyway, I thank you so much, Jared. And I mean, let's definitely, I mean, stay in touch and then see, like, I mean, how are we gonna keep on doing this, right? How many times, I mean, are we gonna meet? How much time do you really have? Because when we connect, we can talk for hours. And I have had to learn with time. You know, sometimes I used to do 4-hour long astrology consultations. And then one time, and I charge more, and they're like, no, they told us no, because, you know, I only pay for these amounts. So they have teach me like to value the time and set it up, and, you know, that's it. So that's what we need to probably get to this point. I know your time is very valuable. My time is very valuable too. And so do let me know, think about it. And I mean, how often we can do this, and let's set up a time frame from this one to this one, and then just focus on the specific thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds great. I appreciate you sharing all of that.
Yeah,
And
that's something that I had to learn too, you know. So right now when I consult online, you know, for my astrology clients, it's like, okay, you pay for this, so I know, and I put a timer, and then it starts telling me, so then we give closure. If you like then want to do another one, well, then you have to say, like, I mean, I would extend, you know, your time. Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Because
awesome.
I really, really, really appreciate what we share, and I really appreciate you in my life, and I really, I'm, you know, very grateful, and thank you for the advice.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. I honor and appreciate you too. I'm grateful for our connection. Thank you.
Thank you, Jared.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.